So if he wins another one, Andy Reid's going to start to enter into rarefied air because you've got Bill Walsh and Joe Gibbs who've got 3. Reid he would put him at 3. Then you've got Chuck Noll and Bill Belichick, and that's it. Like, that is a short list of coaches with that sort of Super Bowl resume. I mean, he's knocking on the door of.
Dude, he's not that far off from Don Shula's record. He's just got to continue to keep coaching, and they have to continue to have success at this rate.
I mean,
but that's the thing. Everyone's like talks about Bill Belichick getting his record. I don't know. I think if Andy Reid coaches till he's 70, 71, like, because it encompasses postseason wins as well, which is big.
Yeah,
he's an old school dude too. You know, I'd be sitting here thinking to myself, he'll never coach that long. But old school dudes coach until they're gone. Like, they coach.
Yeah.
And that's what they love to do. That's what gets them up every day. And so I believe Andy Reid has that in him. You know, he's obviously endured the test of time 60, on a personal
65,
level.
65, going to be 66 soon.
Why wouldn't he knock down 6, 7 more years? Why not? Maybe 8. I
mean, with Mahomes at this rate,
because he's got about 6, 7, 8 more years.
That's at least, if you say 6 more years, it's at least 60 more wins.
Yeah. And he's how far away?
Well, this will be, you mean Super Bowls or just wins?
No, just wins.
Wins, he's at 258.
And how far away from Shula is he?
Shula's what, 327?
Yeah, I think so, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, saying 10 wins a year for the next 6 years, like on average, that's a good average. But I think they've averaged more than that.
17-game season now.
Well, and again, playoffs count.
Yeah, sure, we count playoffs.
And also,
he ain't getting that.
They're probably gonna answer.
Is it 47?
347 for Don Shula.
347.
What's Belichick at then?
I think Belichick's at 328, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe it's Belichick's at 327.
Yeah, but
so he only needs like 2-3 seasons.
Yeah, but
2-3 winning seasons. Belichick.
But say he doesn't reach Don Shula's wins record. He's at 333. Okay, Belichick is. Say if he doesn't reach Don Shula's wins record.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Andy Reid.
Reid's already got the Super Bowls.
He's still in the conversation of one of the greatest coaches ever. Will he become the greatest coach ever? You know what's interesting? People call Vince Lombardi the greatest NFL coach of all time. Like, there are some coaches there are some people that would argue Chuck Noll is the greatest coach of all time in the National Football League. So it's
hard.
It's one thing to say, right? It's one thing to say, okay, winningest coach. You can't get around winningest coach and you have the only undefeated season. That's a hard challenge to win that argument if you're going against what Don Shula represented. But with that being said, are there elements of what some of these other coaches have done that would kind of warrant the conversation to take place? Then the answer would be absolutely unequivocally yes.
Here's the argument for Andy Reid over Belichick.
Okay.
If he just gets to 3 or 4 Super Bowls and you want to do the comp game.
Let's do it.
He took another team to a Super Bowl in Philly. A lot of NFC championship games.
Yeah,
and people forget when he got to Kansas City, they were a disaster. And with Alex Smith, they were a playoff team almost every year. He's done it with different situations, different quarterbacks, different franchises, where the argument for Belichick can only be applied to Tom Brady in New England. So that's where Reid's got an argument.
I
know. I'm just saying, listen, if there's an argument for Andy Reid.
I don't know that that's the direction I go, only because, I mean, you get fired. Like Bill Belichick, eventually, I mean, I know it kind of was a quasi-firing, both step away, but he had 20 years of dominance.
That's crazy. 20
there's
no comparing
years.
that. There's no comparing that.
And here's the thing I'll go back to say, just as we get to this point of the Super Bowl week, and everyone wants to compare all time who has all that stuff. I was kind of joking about that, but if you look at coaches, like you talk about Chuck Noll, it wasn't free agency back then.
Yeah, so he was able to keep his guys together.
Yeah, go back and look at how many different players they had on this roster. I think I saw a stat during their 4 Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. They had was it 80 different players? It's some ridiculously low stat where you're like, dude, that's like 1 year.
I mean,
for a team.
They also got every call. Like Pittsburgh got every break.
Oh,
every
relax,
call.
relax. You weren't there.
But
you don't remember that.
The point is this:
they got every call.
Each coach is challenged with something different.
And Belichick
right?
was challenged with losing coaches all the time.
All the time. That's the one thing that stands out to me.
I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, dang,
Well, Andy Reid lost Eric Bieniemy.
well, that's true.
Yeah, your thoughts on that,
That
LaVar?
is true. That's true. I mean, that is true. And Eric Bieniemy
He was able to overcome it.
was and for a year.
Yeah, how's that feel, VAR?
I mean, am I supposed to be offended by that? You know, I was thinking how difficult it is to have success when you have to switch coaches. And for me, like my rookie year, I had Ray Rhodes as a defensive coordinator. He ran his style of defense.
What up, Ray?
He was gone. Then comes in Kurt Schottenheimer. He had his own style of defense.
What up, Kurt?
What up, Shotty?
He was gone. And then comes in Marvin Lewis. He
What up,
had
Marv?
a different style of
Lewis.
defense. Then he was gone.
Man.
Like
Why did they let go of Marv like that?
a year. He left to go be a head coach.
Oh, head coach,
in
okay,
Cincy.
okay.
And
Sounds
then,
like that was a good
yeah,
departure.
it was a good deal. And then George Edwards takes over, and I think that was
What
the
up, George?
first. He was the first coach that I had, I believe, for more than 1 year. Maybe not, because that would have been year four. So going into my 5th year, no, I had a new defensive coordinator the first 5 years of my career. So it was Ray Rhodes, it was Kurt Schottenheimer, it was Marvin Lewis, it was George Edwards, and then it was Greg Williams. And when you think about having to change like that for guys every single year, where you have the intricacies and the details of how a defense or if it's an offense, how an offense is ran, it's very, very difficult. You find it to be a very difficult challenge to be able to get everybody on the same page in that small amount of time.
Would you say that the number of defensive coordinators that left to get other jobs is because of you and your performance, that you got them elevated to head
well, that
coaching
wasn't
roles?
the point. The point was for Bill Belichick to have had this type of success that he had. He was getting his coaches poached on a yearly basis.
On the reg.
On a yearly basis. And so when you look at it from
Well said.
on a reg.
On the reg.
Well said.
But that's so for him to overcome those challenges and still continue, like, okay, he lost the Super Bowl here and there. Like, what were their challenges? Like, I'm sure he had some very daunting challenges coming into the season, let alone what happens during the duration of a season. So it's hard to take anything away from what Bill Belichick was able to accomplish, because in a lot of cases, your success becomes your own demise. You know, you're not able to keep all of those things and those elements together that got you to where everybody looks at Tom Brady and says he had Tom the whole entire time. But how many changes did Tom Brady have to go through during that course in time? Yeah. So there's a lot of things they had to overcome to be great, and that made them truly great to have to do that. That's all.
KC's on their way,
though.
They're on their way. I mean, what they're doing right now is starting to venture into unprecedented territory.
Yeah.
You know, as far as the AFC Championship berths.
It's just so funny. Like, people in the AFC were like, thank God we're done with the Patriots. Yeah. Then Kansas City's
like,
now
you got KC.
We got it.
We're up. We'll take that.
We'll
pick it up from here.
Think about this. For a period of time, the AFC only knew Brady, Manning, Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Like, that's all they knew for those 2 decades. And now you just kind of throw in Mahomes, and it's all right. It's literally going to be 4 quarterbacks over the span of going on 2.5 decades. That's what we have in front of us.
That's wild.